That's cool. So I'm giving you an NFT market outlook and also some future trends, opportunities. Just dipping into my personal profile a bit. I'm the international ambassador to the European Blockchain Association, and also I'm on the board of Metaverse Education Council, and as a profit head, I'm also the chief strategy officer and futurist for One Big Wave. Um, the market overview for NFTs, just to give you a short example. I guess you know the Gartner hype cycle, and NFTs is here what you see in the red box. So it's pretty way up high. And why would NFTs be there? What can you do with NFTs? You see the indication metaverse, which is still on the very brink of the hype cycle, and also Web3, which is the entire ecosystem where NFTs play a role. So if Gartner puts you on a hype cycle, there's obviously some tech that seems to be important and interesting for the future. Over time, it will get even more interesting because most of you, I guess, engage or have engaged, have seen Bored Apes, other JPEGs, artwork. Maybe we forget about this in the future and dip into utilities more. I'm going to tell you about this a bit later. This is also from Gartner. This is what they see for 2023 as tech trends. And if you go through these 10 numbers, you won't see NFTs, right? So where are NFTs at? You will find them in the future as a tool for the metaverse. You would also find them as enablers for industry cloud platforms, and also for sustainability technology, and for super apps, for payment as a validator, and also as tools for utility, as I just said. This is the estimation coming from a reality, but this is the estimation of Polaris, and it's nice to see a 506 billion estimation in some years from now. But if you see 18 billion in 2021, that's a real number. So this is no estimation. This is a real number, which is quite something. So if people ask like NFTs, this is JPEGs, how can you earn money with it? Well, we've seen 18.5 almost in billion in 2021. And this will be even more because NFTs not only as artwork enablers, but as tech enablers, as tools. This is why it will deliver a lot of more money and a lot of more use cases, which bring up basically a number of 506 billion. For those of you who are not too familiar with the entirety of the NFT ecosystem, I would call it, well, NFTs, non-fungible tokens. You see those definitions. I wouldn't read them to you, but there are things that are called NFTs. We've seen them, as I said, in artwork for collectibles. I will show you a bit later as well. But it's also dynamic NFTs that you see, dynamic NFTs that can be interchanged by smart contracts. So something happens in the algorithm of the smart contract and it changes the NFT for what reason soever. There are many use cases where this can be done. And just to remind you, we're talking about NFTs. Everything that happens with this NFT, if it's minted, if it's traded, if it's edited, created, redone by dynamic NFTs or by the smart contract for dynamic NFTs, it's all on the blockchain. It will be transparent. SBT is a newer abbreviation, basically coined by Vitalik Buterin, like one of the founders of Ethereum. And it's soul-bound tokens. I would call it NFTs that you don't want to trade. It's NFTs that sort of mirror you as an identity. Your passport could be an NFT, SBT, for example. So you don't want to trade your passport, right, or your driver's license. These are SBTs. You will see this example in a second. So when it comes to best practices, it's people keep asking me, how can we use this for? Where does this play a role? Um, well, does everybody love NFTs? Well, if you lost a bit of money, you would basically go with that message, I guess. But changing that tone, it's basically, why would you hate NFTs if you can use them for tokenization? And tokenization is more of a business use case, not so much of a private use case, B2C use case. Um, so that's why many people in their private world, as a B2C person, didn't really engage in tokenization. We speak about tokenomics, so the entire ecosystem of NFTs and tokenizing anything, and it will be literally anything and everything in the future, is what we mentioned with tokenomics. And you will see this in a tokenization world. And people keep asking me, when you talk about tokenization, where does this happen? Does this happen at all? Is this the reality? It is the reality today. So the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles in California, basically set up their, with the help of the Tezos blockchain, they set up driver's licenses that you gain, the ownership certificates for your car, basically, which you then also can trade. This is what they set up. So for not so digital persons, I would say, who don't own a wallet, for example, you can still get your driver's license in real life, as a physical paper or card, as also the certificate of ownership of your car, for example. But they set it up in parallel also on the blockchain, Tezos blockchain in this case. And this happens now. So this is not like a pilot to implement in 2050. This is now. And you see more and more of those use cases coming up. And this is not somewhere in the jungle, but it's California. So we would see this validated in some other places. Also, on the pitch night, first night of World Blockchain Summit, you saw IMPT. So they are basically taking NFTs to mirror carbon credits. Carbon credits, CO2 validators are basically, well, put as an NFT, so you can trade them. Why would you do this? Because maybe your carbon footprint is too high, and that's why you would want to trade it to somebody else, gain money for it. Well, you have some money for it, you get some money for it. If you convert them into things like you can spend more carbon credits, you can produce more carbon credits, and this is all as a mirror in a metadata. This sits in the NFT. I brought an example that I'm personally involved in, which is the Ink Hotel. Ink as a brand has opened a hotel almost a year ago, and they're now about to build a new form of real estate, which is Ink Living. So it's a co-living place, basically. And if you think in co-living, co-working, it has some different processes than a regular hotel. So if you would think of a co-living as sort of a timeshare, for example, and you think in nights of that timeshare that you can tokenize, maybe a night would equal 1 token. Maybe the maintenance fee that you would have to pay equals half a token. And if you think of more of these Ink Living places, for example, in Dubai, you buy 50 tokens, so to speak, 50 of those Ink tokens, for example, and then you can spend those tokens as vouchers, if you want, in different locations of these Ink co-living spaces. Think of this brand Ink would then be a part of a larger network of co-living spaces, and you buy 100 tokens, for example, and you spend them in different places in the world. And maybe this is a co-living and a co-working space. You would have different tokens to use them for services for co-working, like using the printer, using the desk services, but also use a different token for the nights that you sort of can tokenize. So it's a very interesting example. It has to follow the rules for tokenization, but also for digital assets, obviously. But it's a very interesting example. And then if you see like the sustainability badge Ink Hotels has gained, They obviously, when we come back to the last slide, when it comes to carbon credits, they behave in a very well form. So they sort of like are being given tokens, maybe by a government, by a governmental entity in the future. So this will all come into one ecosystem, in a tokenized ecosystem. You can trade tokens for tokens, and this is going to be the future. Who also engages in this is Neom, like the nine of Neom, I guess you've all heard of, or maybe seen some very impressive videos. Neom also engages in tokenization of their real estates, of their building. And they, of course, have different ways of building real estate as well. So they have offices, they have residential, they even have sort of villas. You can kind of like use a token to rent out a rooftop to organize an event, for example. This is what they all engage in. And that's what should point out to you that when we talk about tokenization and tokenomics as an ecosystem, this is no fantasy of like 2050, but it's here today and it works today and you can set it up today. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. And you can do this here. Thanks so much. Thanks for being here.